Hello and welcome to episode 6 of the Unorthodox Vegan. Today we'll be making some rice and a curry dish. This will be a full meal, finally going to get you a full meal. In order to make the rice dish, we'll need obviously some rice. I have two types, a white rice and a brown rice. And we'll also need a little bit of oil for the pan and a little bit of salt. In order to make the actual curry dish, we need whatever vegetables you have at hand. And I'm throwing in some onion, some garlic, a little bit of tomatoes and mushrooms and some peppers. That's all I've got in that. But for a protein, I'm going to be adding in, I will be adding in one of these three. I have a non-soy tofu, which is made from fava beans. I have the seitan, some burger material that I use sometimes, but I'm not going to use that today. But what I will be using is a soy-based meat product that I tend to enjoy. So this is from my Eve's collection of local meats. Of course, you will need some, or I like to use a coconut milk and a curry paste. And I have two types that I can choose from, a green curry paste or a nice spicier red one. I like the red one, the red spicy one. Both of these are curry pastes that do not have any fish ingredients in them. And that's important to note because if you're going to have a vegan dish, you don't want to have fish in it. So let's get started. In order to make the rice, of course, you need rice and some water. So what I'm going to do is to show you two different types of methods of making rice. I'm going to do the brown rice in a way that I like it to be a little more chewier and a little more body to it. And I'm going to do the white rice in the traditional method. So first of all, I put a little bit of oil into these two pots. I'm going to be putting in a cup of water into the one that's going to just have the regular white rice with nothing special in it. Getting that going. I've got the burner on already. So I'm going to get this water boiling. I have a little bit of oil in there. I have a little bit of salt. And we'll get that one boiling. Now the other one, I've already started heating up. I put a little bit of oil in the bottom to get that heated up. What I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to put in some brown rice. I'm going to put in a cup of brown rice. And the reason what I'm doing here is I wanted to give this thing a little bit of a toasting of the rice and it gives it a little bit more of a nuttier flavor to it. So I'm putting in a cup of rice into this dish, into this pot. And what I'm going to be doing is stirring that around because I've got it on a high heat. I'm just going to get it coated in a little bit of that oil that's in the bottom of it, which is not a lot of oil, but just a tiny little bit of oil. Tablespoon or two, get it coated. I want to get this thing start to brown a little bit. So that's what I'm going to be doing with this one. When I've noticed it's browned a little bit, I will then add in the water. Now you'll notice that the water is starting to boil in the pot that has I'm going to be putting in the white rice. I'm putting in 2 cups of water into the white rice with 1 cup of rice. For the brown rice, I'm putting in 1 cup of water to 1 cup of rice. And you may wonder why, and I've said earlier, I'd like to have it a little bit chewier. So that's the reason I'm going to do that. Now, I have the rice, or the water is boiling in here for the white rice. I have 1 cup of rice for 2 cups of water. I'm dumping in that rice right now. And I will give that a little bit of a stir. Bring it back up to a boil. Make sure that there's nothing sticking to the bottom. Bring that up to a boil. And then I'll put the lid on it and let that go. I have this brown rice that I have been lightly toasting. You can possibly see that there's a little bit of toasting coloring going on there. It's going to add a little bit of I like it, a little bit of a nuttier flavor. It's also quite hot. And I'm going to be putting in my 1 cup of water. And it's going to start boiling right away. I'm using a heavy bottom pot, and these heavy bottom pots hold a lot of heat, so that's pretty good. I'm going to let that get to a boil. The white rice is already at a nice boil. I'm going to stir it, take the heat down to low, make sure it's not sticking to the bottom. And that one, put the lid on that. This is already boiling nicely. Then the lid, I'm going to put this thing down to a low heat as well. and put the lid on that and let that thing cook for 20 minutes. At that point in time, I'll take the lid off, give it a little bit of a flaking with the fork to make sure that I've loosened it up a little bit, let some of the moisture move around in that a little bit. And then I will potentially let it sit for another 5 to 10 minutes just to absorb more of the water, make sure that that's all done, and those rices will be ready. I have the burner turned on now for the heating up this oil in this pan. And I'm just going to move it around a little bit, get some oil going out throughout it. And I've already chopped up all the veggies and onions, so I'm just going to be dropping in those onions right now into that little bit of oil. Let those things golden brown a little bit, saute a little bit to a golden brown. So just putting in the onions for now. And we'll let those things heat up. Meanwhile, the alarm has gone off on my rice, and I've already opened it up. And you can see that the brown rice, most of the moisture has been absorbed by the rice already. And the white rice also looks like it's in good shape, and it had 2 cups of water in there. So I've stirred it around a little bit, and I'm just letting it absorb the last little bit of the moisture in there. So it's a lot fluffier. The brown rice will be a little bit chewier. Just going to let this turn to a golden brown, and then I'll be adding in additional items. Now that the onion has browned a little bit, a nice golden brown, I'm going to add in some mushrooms. I like the mushrooms to get a little bit more of a fried aspect to them, a little bit more browned. So I'm going to do that with them first, put them in, let them go a little bit longer. I like that texture, I like that meatier texture. Those mushrooms have browned nicely. I'm now going to throw in the rest of the vegetables and in some garlic. So I've got some garlic, I've got some peppers. All of this has been foraged in a sense that I just picked up whatever was available at our local market that was near the end of its life before it needed to be thrown out, and I didn't want them to be thrown out, so I picked up all kinds of goodies. Whatever you have in the fridge, whatever you like to have, using up stuff. I got a bit of eggplant that was left over. I thought I'd cooked up all the eggplant I got from my daughter from her backyard garden, and I missed one small eggplant, so I cut that up and throw that in there as well. I'm just going to let this saute a little bit in that little bit of oil, only a little bit of oil, but just let it just brown up a little bit, get a little bit of additional cooking to it before I add in 3 more ingredients, and that will be my coconut milk. So a can of coconut milk. Sometimes I only use half a can, depending on how much the volume is going to be here. I'm going to just dump this whole thing in because, frankly, I like coconut milk. I'm going to let that just mix that around in there. Get as much of that as we can out of the can. Don't like wasting food. And I'm going to add in some coconut paste. Some curry paste. And this is that red curry paste. I'm going to put in about a tablespoon, maybe a tablespoon and a half of curry paste. I really like this curry paste. It's a nice, really nice flavor. It's a little salty, and it's got some spice to it. Not too heavy in the spice, but it's really, I enjoy it. I'm putting that in. Now, I'm just going to mix this around a little bit, make sure that curry gets in there and cooking. I've got this at a medium, slightly over, a little higher than medium temperature setting on the burner. I'm going to let that cook around, stew around a little bit. And normally I'd let that cook a little bit before I add in the protein, but I'm going to add in the protein right now. Not that it's a big deal. I'm using about half of this Eve's soy-based hamburger. And It's whatever texture you like is what I consider for putting in the protein, whatever the flavors you like. This one is just a plain ground meat. I sometimes use it as a tofu, and either use regular tofu. And if I'm using tofu, I tend to use the air fryer, and I'll slice it, marinate it, and then put it in. But I'm just feeling like having something just plain and simple and straightforward. I'm just going to mix that all in, and we're going to let that simmer for a while. And then we're going to check the taste and flavor. We're going to see how this is doing. Meanwhile, the rice looks perfect. White rice for those who like the traditional white rice. Brown rice for those who like something a little bit, in this case, because of the way I've done it with only 1 cup of water and doing that heating it up first and giving it that little bit of a toasting, it will be chewier and meatier. So it's kind of what you like. Now, I'll probably I'm going to add in, you know what, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to add in some of that rice into this. It will just give it a little bit more body to it, just make it a nicer dish overall. And if people want extra rice, we got the white rice for them. And we've also got additional brown rice if they want that. So I'm just going to mix that in and let this all simmer for a while. We'll come right back to you. All right, that has simmered down nicely. It's reduced down. I added just a little bit more rice to it, and I added a little bit more of that red curry paste to give it a little bit more flavor, plus a little bit of salt, and a little bit of pepper just to flavor to make sure I got the right amount of pepper and spices in it. It made me feel good. All right, so let's do a taste test. I want to get a little bit of the mushrooms in there and a little bit of the pepper. Oh, that was absolutely delicious. This is perfect. I've got it turned it off. It's all ready to go. Serve it with rice. Serve it with whatever you like. As I said, you make it your way you like it. It's easy to do, relatively easy to do. Have fun with it. Thank you for joining me on episode 6 of The Unorthodox Vegan. If you have any questions, you can email me at the email that's going to appear on the screen. Please feel free to follow me at The Unorthodox Vegan on my YouTube channel. So, The Unorthodox Vegan. Until next time.